Hello Patriots, deplorables, and QAnon followers. This is Barley Pop reporting. We're going to go over a little bit of news today. But first, I want to thank everyone who has subscribed, watched, and commented on my first video, and then a couple of videos right after that. It's really taken me by surprise, and I appreciate it. Thanks to everyone. I did not expect it to take off. Been watching this community since Trump started running, and I've been on a Q trail since day one. Just like sports, I get tired of sitting on the sidelines, so I decided to start trying to make some videos and see if I could add to the conversation a little bit. My wife was a little skeptical of the idea, so I told her that if my first video crashed and burned, I would give it up. Now that video has 4,000 views, and I've got like 85 subscribers. It's blowing my mind. Thank you, everyone. I've never had a Twitter and Instagram. I did have a Facebook and a MySpace years ago, and I had like 20 followers, something like that. So to get to 85 in just a couple of days is really great. Thank you, everyone. Just to let you guys know, I'm self-employed. I don't have a lot of time for extracurricular stuff, the digging, the studying, the laying everything out. And so I won't be making a ton of videos. Mostly just when I see something specific I can add to the conversation. If I see some news articles that that maybe I want to point out, or especially if I'm watching the Q coverage and I see something being missed on several reports. Just like my first video, that was the whole point. It's what drug me into it. It's what motivated me to make that first video. Also coming up sometime, I'll branch out a little. Maybe I should do a separate channel. I don't know. I have a flat Earth video I want to do, and I know that is a very controversial topic. So nobody jump to any conclusions. I am not promoting flat Earth, and I'm not discounting it. It is more of just a discussion on the flat Earth theory. Is it a psyop? I don't know. I really don't know. That's up for everybody to decide for themselves, really. Also, I'll probably end up doing some videos on fixing things, repairing things. I do some mechanicing work, lawnmower work. I build stuff, carpentry work. And I also do some tree work that some people might find interesting. I've got some methods that are, let's just say my neighbors around here all were coming over and calling each other and showing up in crowds to watch me take down trees because it was blowing their minds how I was doing it. And it's very easy. It's much safer than the normal ways of taking down trees. I don't know if that stuff will interest anybody, but if you do, stay tuned, and next few months I'll be working on some stuff like that. I want to give some shout outs right quick. You can look through my subscriptions. You can see the guys that I look at, but just right off the top of my head, guys I've been following for a while, like Mark Dice, everybody knows him. BP Earthwatch, everybody knows him. The Steel Report, Jordan Sather, Destroying the Illusion, Isaac Green, Annie School, Dustin Nemos, James Munder, Just Informed Talk, Tracy Beans, Lori Colley, Space Shot 76, High Impact Flicks, and many more. I can't even think of them all to name them all, but if you look through my subscription list, you'll see the people that I'm watching, and I'm trying to figure out who is subscribing to me and subscribe back to you, especially if you have some videos on your channel. I'm trying to go and root those out and watch them. It's hard to go through 85 of them in a day or two, but so we're going to move into some news here. Not a lot, nothing groundbreaking, just some what I found to be maybe some pertinent things. And so the title of this video is FBI Breaks into Law Offices of Perkins Coie. They seize all communications of Hillary Clinton. Could you imagine the MSM if that really happened? I mean, of course, yes, I'm sorry if anybody thinks that was clickbait, but it was a sarcastic title. But that was just my thoughts on this whole thing. And so, look at this guy right here. This guy's name is Jeffrey Toobin. And of course, everybody knows Alan Dershowitz. Just listen to this guy.
justifying this search, defending it?
I don't know what the ACLU did today. I'm not familiar with that. I think this was an orderly, fair law enforcement investigation, multiply reviewed by levels of the Justice Department. Let's see what they get. Let's see if there's a case to be made. Then you're missing the point.
Maybe there is a case to be made, but it's too late to undo the fact that FBI agents have seen confidential material. That's what I'm trying to stop.
Professor Dershowitz, thank you.
Not me.
Jeff Toobin as well. Coming up, new reporting by Ronan Farrow at the New York.
Okay, so yeah, oh, it's okay. Yeah, if they can make a case out of it, then it's okay. We can just violate somebody's rights anytime that we think we can make a case out of it. Yeah, okay. Here's this guy again. Now everybody should remember this little gem. We'll play this.
In this affidavit seeking a psychiatric evaluation of the victim and signed Hillary Rodham, the rookie lawyer painted the victim as emotionally unstable, suggesting she'd brought false accusations like this before, that she fantasized about older men, and that experts say children like the victim tend to exaggerate or romanticize sexual experiences.
There's never been any evidence presented by anyone to substantiate the allegations that Hillary Clinton made in that affidavit. To the victim, this was an attempt by Hillary Clinton to smear her in order to exonerate her attacker. The victim believes that Hillary Clinton lied in order to win.
Clinton also insisted on getting her own expert opinion on the accused rapist's underwear, after the crime lab had cut out the key part of the sample to test, then lost it. In a bold move for a first-time defender, Clinton brought what was left of the accused rapist's underwear from Arkansas all the way here to Brooklyn, New York, more than 1,200 miles, just so a renowned forensic expert she'd hunted down could look it over. A move considered aggressive even by the prosecutor's standards. Maybe so, but it worked. Audio emerged of Clinton talking about the case with an Arkansas journalist back in the 1980s. Listen to her laugh describing the moment she delivered her forensic expert's findings to the prosecutor.
I handed it to Bailey Gibbs and I said, well, I'm just got ready to come to New York for this miscarriage of justice.
Those recordings were played for the victim by Josh Rogan during his interview. Her reaction was anger.
When I heard that tape, I was pretty upset. You lied on me, and you're supposed to be it for women? You call that for women? What you done to me? And I heard you on tape laughing.
There is another piece of audio that Clinton's critics have pointed to for some time. Clinton on the same tape laughing about her client passing a polygraph.
He took a lot of tests. I had to polygraph, which he passed, which forever destroyed my faith in polygraphs. But you know what was sad about it was that the prosecutors had evidence.
Okay, so that was not Toobin in the video, but Toobin is quoted in this article as saying war stories. The actual quote is he says it sounded like sounded like lawyers talking about war stories. Didn't say anything to him. It says, which they do all the time. I just certainly didn't think anything on that tape suggested she was insensitive to women. This is Toobin, okay? The same guy that was like, thinks it's not a big deal if we just, violate Donald Trump's, his rights, his protected communications with his lawyer. All right, so here's another article. They won't let me watch this video. It must be too old. But this right here is an article about when Toobin is talking, excuse me, about the Hillary Clinton investigation and everything. He says, look what this story is about, the symbiosis between Fox News and the Trump White House, Toobin alleged. This is an old investigation that deals with 10-year-old events, and it's an attempt by the Republicans to get us to talk about something other than the Russia's possible influence in last year's election. It's a completely political undertaking designed to get people to talk about the only thing that unites the Republican Party today, which is hating Hillary Clinton, Toobin declared. Well, I'm sorry, folks, but does that not sound to you like the exact thing that's going on when we're trying to persecute Donald Trump? I mean, we're investigating a guy simply because he won the election and they don't like it. If we did that every time a president was elected, could you imagine the crap we would find out about some of our past presidents? We're going to move on from there. Let's close a couple of tabs so I don't get confused and open the wrong one. All right. So, in the last video that I did about Syria, I hinted at, I felt like it was a deep state thing. Everyone asked me, are we going to war? Are we going to war? See, nobody find it a coincidence that Trump is talking about pulling out of Syria completely, and then all of a sudden Assad gasses a bunch of his citizens? Does it not seem logical to any critical thinking individual that Assad would maybe sit back and twiddle his thumbs, wait for United States to completely pull out, sign a treaty with Russia saying that we won't do anything there, we'll let them handle it? No. My MSM says says that immediately Assad attacks his people. So what? This makes no sense at all. Okay, so check out this article here. There wasn't a single corpse. Russia claims white helmets staged Syria chemical attack. Now, y'all can go to Zero Hedge and read this article. I'm not going to go completely through it. The main thing I want to show you is that headline, and that fits my narrative. Screw the MSM narrative. And so, here's what we want to look at. Who are white helmets? All right. So, first thing that I notice about that term is that they're trying to play off of the truther term white hat. White hat is a term used towards anybody who's basically on our side, people's side, not the NWO satanic side, in favor of individuals' human rights instead of just saying they're doing humanitarian work. All right, so here's an article, altright.com. How the deep state conducts American imperialism. Will Trump fall for the white helmet propaganda? Will American people fall for it? Okay, and it says, it tells you here, town of Duma, eastern Ghouta, an area just east of Damascus, an alleged chemical attack occurred, killing over 40 people. Feels like deja vu. Approximately a year ago, the deep state, Richard Spencer, Greg Kant, and Mike Enoch were protesting military intervention in April 2017 over some alleged chemical attacks that took place then. Surely it is a pure coincidence that just days before the attack, Trump hinted at troops withdrawing from Syria. After this alleged chemical gas attack, which was discovered by the Syrian Civil Defense, aka White Helmets, withdrawal talks have ceased, and talks about military intervention in Syria have been ramped up. Who are the White Helmets? According to Vanessa Beeley of 21st Century Wire, the White Helmets are terrorists. According to Alec Jones of InfoWars, White Helmets are backed by George Soros. According to the Wikipedia entry from Syrian Civil Defense, they are humanitarian NGO, non-government organization. While the first two explanations are certainly believable, let's take the official narrative from the White Helmets themselves. The stated purpose of the Syrian Civil Defense is to conduct search and rescue missions and evacuations of areas in Syria that are no longer under control of the Syrian government. The financial support and training for the Syrian Civil Defense come from the Mayday Rescue Foundation and USAID. Looking at both USAID and Mayday Rescue Foundation, we find that the primary financiers of this group are the governments of the United States, United Kingdom, Denmark, Netherlands, and Germany, all NATO members. Why does this matter? As I'm sure you are aware, the Assad government in Syria is allied with Putin's government in Russia. Also, I'm sure that you are aware that NATO is no friend of Putin's Russia. Since the election of Donald Trump, the American deep state has been leading a massive witch hunt against the president over alleged ties to the Kremlin during his 2016 presidential campaign. The deep state does not cease to look for any possible connections between Trump and Putin that can be used to conjure up enough evidence to carry out impeachment proceedings against President Trump, who ran on an America-first foreign policy which promised peace in Syria and friendlier relations with the Kremlin. Trump's 2016 campaign promises of America First represent an existential threat to the globalist deep state, which is trying to continue building their unipolar world order. With investigations taking place and endless fake news allegations of collusion with Russia, Trump has abandoned plans towards building friendlier relations with Russia and wants to appear adversarial at times. It appears that Donald Trump is not the smartest man and has filled his cabinet with globalist warmongers who love to see the regime in Syria change. Also, Trump himself appears to be easily manipulated by propaganda coming out of Syria, as we saw in April 2017. I want to point out, Trump appears. This is Trump putting on a show to distract the deep state and the lefties. The anatomy of American imperialism. Since the United States is a liberal democracy, it does not conduct imperialism in an overt manner. Instead, the United States conducts moral crusades against evildoers in order to spread the values of freedom and democracy. The United States is very clever in how they conduct their foreign policy. For an in-depth guide, I recommend you read Andrew Korbko's book, Hybrid Wars, the Indirect Adaptive Approach to Regime Change. Basically, non-governmental organizations, white helmets, are used as fronts to promote humanitarian missions. These humanitarian NGOs operate in the country about to undergo regime change. In a submersive manner, NGOs foment revolutionary fervor, civil unrest, or in the case of the white helmets, a propaganda campaign against the regime in power. This leads to an exacerbation of the supposed humanitarian crisis taking place. Eventually, a major event occurs, a jailing of an opposition party leader, a rigged election, martial law, alleged gas attack from a government against its own civilians, etc. Depending on the situation, it can evolve into a color revolution where nonviolent forms of resistance take place, eventually leading to regime change. The other possibility is that the situation becomes volatile and violence breaks out, resulting in some type of civil war situation. If the former happens, the international community, USA, oversees the color revolution to ensure a peaceful democratic solution takes place, resulting in the overthrow of regime in power. If the latter happens, the international community will intervene militarily in some fashion, sending UN peacekeepers with big old quotation marks, NATO, or just the U.S. by itself. In this situation, military force is used in order to topple the regime in power and replace it with a regime that is more liberal and humane, i.e. pro-American. Whether peaceful or violent, the outcome is the same, replacing an anti-American regime with a pro-American regime. Conclusion. This is how the United States has been slowly but surely taking over the entire planet since the fall of the Soviet Union. Every single intervention that has taken place has been done so in the name of humanitarianism. Iraq, Bosnia, Kosovo, Afghanistan, Somalia, Yemen, Libya, Egypt, Syria, Ukraine. The case for future conflicts with Iran and North Korea are also being made along the lines of a humanitarian mission. In the past 70 years, no cause has shed more blood than that of humanitarianism. Human rights are just a front for globalists to conduct their imperial mission of world domination. Ironically, those who advocate humanitarianism are the greatest enemies of humanity. Will President Trump fall for the white helmet propaganda? Will the American people fall for it? We shall see. Hopefully, wiser minds prevail. Take a drink of water there. All right, so hopefully you guys are getting the gist here. The white helmets, quote-unquote humanitarians, they were circling Duma and wouldn't let anybody in. So, I mean, there was no way for anybody to walk in there and prove it. And, of course, if you read into the article that I showed you on Daily Zero Hedge, then you'll see where Russia finally got in there and there were no casualties. It was completely made up, completely staged. They caught one of those white helmet guys with a video in his possession of them staging it. So we're going to move on from there, trying to keep this quick and not so long. We're going to talk about the feminist movement for a second. First, I'd like to say a thing or two. The feminist movement, in my opinion, is not what they say it is. The power of women was discovered many years ago when they wanted to enact prohibition. That was basically the beginning of the women's movement, the feminist movement. You can look it up. Women were brought together and brought to voting booths, and they would go home and they would pressure their husbands, and everybody was convinced that if we would illegalize alcohol, it would be a greater thing for our country. They tapped into women's Christian beliefs, their moral beliefs, and they recruited them. They got them in groups, and they marched, they talked, and they eventually got what they wanted. Well, now, how did that turn out? What did we get out of that? We got mobs. There's plenty of statistics saying that there was more drinking and more alcohol during Prohibition. Now, you had men who now don't come home because they stay in the speakeasies where they can get their alcohol. All this can be debated, but just look at the statistics. I mean, that was the original women's movement, feminist movement was for the Prohibition movement. Okay, so just follow that on down the line. Women are used to push things that normally people would protest, and they're convinced that they're being empowered when they do it, and it's really quite sad. I love everybody. If feminism was a real thing and woman empowerment was a real thing, I would be 100% behind it. But you know, it's a non-starter in my opinion. For anybody who'd like to think about that a little bit more, go and check out Lauren Southern. And see how her videos on how feminism is affecting our culture, and she gives some examples of feminist views, and how it's affecting the people her age and what she is experiencing, trying to find a partner in life. So here's this story. You've got the Women's March, and so the government seized this website Backpage and filed charges against them. And the Women's March jumps out first thing and says it's an absolute crisis for sex workers who rely on the site to safely get in touch with clients. Sex workers' rights are women's rights. Well, what happens just a couple days after that? Backpage.com pleads guilty to human trafficking charges. Also to money laundering, but really, I mean, this is a good example of how the establishment, the deep state, convinces these women that they're fighting for women's rights, and convinces them to take a side, to use their voice, to use their power, to support human trafficking, and they don't even realize what they're being talked into doing. And I just wish that the youth these days would wake up. I wish that some of the older ladies that grew up during the feminist times would realize how they were manipulated, and how it has seriously hurt our culture. And now we've got two sides, basically. You've got one side that is standing on a moral soapbox, and you got another side that's sitting there just wishing they'd shut up. So that's that is my opinion on feminism, women's movement, and right here is a perfect example of how they are brainwashed into taking a side that is behind something evil, and it takes something this drastic to make it show up and to show it to them. And I'm really sorry about it. I really am. I hate it. But we've got to work on this. We've got to talk to people. We've got to wake people up. So we're going to end the video. I was hoping this would be a little funnier than it is, but here we've got the richest woman in Congress, wealthiest woman in Congress, preaching down to us.
I'm reminded in the course of the debate on the tax bill and on the budget, and now the so-called balanced budget amendment, of Reverend King's words: God never intended for any group of people to live in superfluous, inordinate wealth while others live in abject, deadening poverty.
Ha ha ha! Oh my goodness. Don't you just love it when a rich thief tries to preach to you about the difference between the 1% and the rest of the people? And you can check out this article about how she doesn't even want to pay the taxes on the $100 million that she has. What a deal! What a deal! Well, folks, thank you for watching. This is Barley Pop, and again, thank you to everybody who has supported me, all the great comments, and we look forward to the next video. Stay safe, stay strong, and get the word out.